Evening. Facebook Live, family and friends. Sorry, I was looking to see if it was running. Usually it starts counting up the seconds, but it just went live. Okay, I'm Cathy Novicky, founder of Champion. Yeah, see, that's why. I don't think it's. Remember that night?
Oh, it is. You're good.
Okay, we're back. Technical problems. Couple of things tonight. I apologize. It is after midnight, so therefore it's Friday, the 14th of July. But I've been working on this all this evening, so I will do another Facebook Live today, but this is considered Thursday, the 13th. And we had some family communication stuff that was going back and forth, so it delayed me. So my humblest apologies, but I am here, and it is day 49 of Champions Over Cancer Facebook Live Challenge. And the name of this one is Breaking News. And while it's not up there in the hoorah, get my cheerleader pom-poms out. I never was a cheerleader, but it was something that it's an article that I picked up the other day, and I've been reading through, and there seems to be a lot of, sorry, I was looking at the cat who was looking at me, which is pretty scary because you never know if he's gonna jump on you at some point. It was disturbing because there are some things that are stated differently, and so it took me some time to really read through it and try to understand what they're trying to tell us. This is a medical journal put out by what's called a site called Up to Date. It is published by physicians and researchers and doctors of research, etc., etc., etc. But the article is, it's called Approach to the Patient Following Treatment for Breast Cancer. And it is a literature review that is was updated in May 17th of 2017. And it is current through June of 2017. So it is the most recent research that I had, which was exciting. That's what caught my eye, and that's why I started to read it. But then I started to see some discrepancies. Some are obvious, given the numbers. Oh dear, it's going to be one of those nights. I'm sorry. It first talked about statistics, and I am really going to have to refer to my notes for this, because I certainly don't want to quote something inappropriate. So they stated statistics from the the Institute of Cancer Research, and these were from 2008. I know any data is for the most part retrospective, and so therefore you get, once they pull it together and they analyze it and they publish it, it is several years past. But so one of the things is the statement was there are 29 million cancer survivors worldwide. I think that was about the same as what I had talked about before. And it states in 2014 that in the U.S. alone, there's an estimated 14 million cancer survivors, which I think was pretty close to what we had talked about. But what they went on further to predict was that by 2024, or in other words, they were saying in 10 years, so I took it from 2014, that they estimated that the growth of cancer survivorship numbers would be up to approximately 18 million. So that's pretty significant. And then they broke it down by breast cancer of statistics in the United States. 3 million women have a history of breast cancer, and are, still living. This is going to be very disjointed because I'm tired. This equates to 41% of the population of all female cancer survivors. That's a big number, and it's why they dedicate so much time, research, funding, and that early detection saves lives campaign, because it is the prevalent cancer that females get. They go on to say that reoccurrence is most common in the first 5 years, which is something that's pretty well known, but that it can reoccur decades later. And the decades later part, I believe, is from the treatment itself a lot of times. And then they went on to say that the best practice, there's inconsistencies in the best practice because there's no clear evidence as to what constitutes the best practice. And that speaks to what I've talked about in regards to the survivorship care plan. There are, it should be individual, it should be unique to the needs of the individual, but it is time-consuming, labor-intensive, and insurance companies don't pay for it. So if the individual doesn't have a best practice for them, what's best for them, how therefore can the medical community have best practice? So they're struggling with that. And I can say without fear of retribution is that when multiple medical societies try to come up with policies, a lot of politics is involved, and the playing well with others is it's just a debacle. So that's one of them. That was one of the things, and it's some of it is clear, but then you start to see these little inconsistencies. So then they go on to what they feel is a definition of a cancer survivor. And they quote from the National Coalition of Cancer Survivorship and the National Cancer Institute, which are two of the largest data collecting and recommendation institutes. So they define cancer, nothing new here, as any person with cancer starting from the moment of diagnosis. That's nothing new. But then they say that they call it an overall, that this overall addresses breast cancer survivors who have completed surgery, chemotherapy, and or radiation, and who, quote unquote, are without evidence of disease. So does this mean that this is the new cancer-free? So that now you're going to be called a cancer survivor without evidence of disease. They don't clarify that. So that can get confusing. Confused me, which just doesn't take much right now because I'm tired. So then we go on to the publication speaks to the many phases of cancer survivorship. Now, this is in direct relation to what I have spoken of. You know, that I believe you are a survivor from the moment you are diagnosed until you complete your acute therapy. And then there's this transitional phase where I don't know what to call it, and they agree that there is a transitional phase, but they don't know what to call it. And so basically, I wrote in my notes, okay, so the phases of cancer survivorship, well, what about more details? Because of what Champions Over Cancer calls at that survivorship up through acute therapy. And perhaps we can come up with a transitionary phase, because I also agree that there is a transition. But then I call the individual a champion, because the survivor is you've heard me say this, hold you in the past, ties you to your diagnosis, and now you are without evidence of disease. So you want to go forward then, and by going forward, you are with great determination and courage, and you're a warrior looking for the best quality of life for you. And they speak to quality of life in this article, and they speak to it a little here and they speak to it a little there, but they don't really delve into it very deeply. Maybe it's just how this website lists their articles, or how they classify them. That I can't really speak to. But the final thing that made another step confusing to me was that they listed the 2012 guidelines that are still unchanged for follow-up. And the one thing that caught my attention is that they have coordination of care. In other words, coordination between your primary care physician and your oncology team, or anyone else who needs to be involved due to what you are experiencing. And they emphasized, and I want to say that again, they emphasized that communication is vital between all parties, because any antidote that doesn't get passed along or is not included can create havoc, even just the logistics of it. So that, I agree, is very, very important, and it's still not it's happening, but there is not as much consistency as medical personnel would like, and A lot of times it just gets put in the patient's chart and forgotten. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying this is how it is. And then the final piece that I'm going to add tonight, because I'm not going to go on for very long, as you know why, is that in the coordination of care, whether it is through your primary care physician with assistance from your oncologist, or if it's through with your oncologist, they made the point, which I have not seen before. I know the 5-year rule, you know, the most recurrences are in 5 years. I know the rule that it can be many, many years later, but this is the first time that I've seen, oh, I'm just destroying my whole platform here. This is the first time I've seen it written like this, and it says, under coordination of care, the risk of breast cancer reoccurrence continues through year 15, at 15 years after primary treatment and beyond. Now, the and beyond is and beyond, which speaks to the decades from treatment. But where did this breast cancer reoccurrence continues through 15 years after primary treatment? That's new. It's new to me. It might not be new to the medical community, and I'm going to ask about it because I want to know. And I want to know because I don't want to pass on incorrect information. And if it's not incorrect, then I want to know why they're quoting it and why they're mentioning it. So, this pit bull has another assignment. Luckily and unfortunately, I work tomorrow, so it's after midnight and I have to get up at 4 a.m. So you can understand my haggardness. But I keep my promise, my integrity. Today is day 49, so if I can add, that means that tomorrow, well really today, is going to be day 50, which is very exciting because it's 50 days out of 90 and I'm getting closer, and I have been live consistently for 49 days, and that makes me very proud of myself, if I have to say so, and I believe that it makes my coach very proud, and she and her boyfriend are doing a 90-day challenge along with me, and I am extremely grateful for that support. And I check in with her every week, and we have a session, and you know, what are we going to do, what should you do, blah blah blah, you know, all those things. So, but anyway, so I am tomorrow going to work, and the good part of that is that I'm going to corner somebody on this risk of recurrence continues through 15 years because I've never heard it before. And if it's been out there and I haven't read it and I haven't picked up on it, etc., I will come back tomorrow and say my bad because I didn't pick up on it. But I will attempt in my day, because I never know what kind of day I'm going to have, to find out some information on this, because I'm taking this piece of paper to work with me. Doesn't mean it'll ever come out of my pocket, but I'm taking it to work because I want to know. So, with that said, I want to exceptionally thank everyone who's been following me, and my human faults and circumstances that arise that delay me. I mean, I had it all laid out to get to bed. I wanted to get to bed at 9 o'clock. I had everything all set up. You know what happens. You know what they say happens. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say for this morning, very early this morning. So as for Cathy Novicky and Champions Over Cancer, I'm going to say I hope you all by now are in bed and tucked in and safe and well. And I will talk to you tomorrow, most likely late again. Try to get earlier, and have a great day. Get a good night's sleep so you can start the day off with a bang and a good frame of mind. And I will say good night and